Welcome to Elevate, the masterclass where we dissect the elements of exceptional achievement and lifestyle design with a focus on personal growth and real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I'm so thankful to have you here, and I'm blessed to be sitting with a mastermind of, unlimited resources here with Princi Gill and Vikram Brar. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How you doing, Tyler?
Doing fantastic. And I want to welcome you guys to the show. I want to welcome Elevate Nation back. This is our second time doing a little bit of a mastermind here today. So we got a little bit of a different layout of the show, but I'm excited because 3 minds are better than 2. And I know we've got 2 beautiful minds here, 2 beautiful souls. And so I just want to thank you guys again for taking time. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you before the show a little bit more. And this has been our second time discussing. And now we're on Zoom here. We're across the country from each other. But I think we're going to really serve a lot of listeners today. And we're going to inspire a lot of people. We're going to talk a lot about innovation. We're going to talk a lot about meaning behind what you do and serving other people, and really applying principles that you've learned in other areas of your life, whether it's other business ventures or really just your own life journey, and how you can apply that to real estate and how you can create a life without limits. So I'm really excited about that. Are you guys up for that?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And thank you. Honestly, thank you so much for having us on the show. We'd love to, add as much value as we can.
Outstanding. Well, with that said, I want to welcome Elevate Nation back because, as you can tell, we're going to take it to another level today. And I want to welcome you back to the show where our mission is to identify and apply how the best of the best raise the bar personally and professionally to achieve greatness in real estate and beyond. And of course, this is where we talk habits, where we talk, routines, systems, mindset, psychology, tools, and strategy, and obviously innovation, and so much more from those who are elevating to a life without limits, such as Princi and Vikram are, so you can do the same or even more for yourself. And this is a masterclass for leaders and those looking to achieve uncommon results and purposeful outcomes through real estate investing and ultimately in their lives. And I just want to highlight, something there. It's purposeful outcomes through real estate investing and ultimately in their lives, which basically what that means is combining your commitment to personal growth and combining successful real estate investing can create anything you want in your life. And I know that Vikram and Princi really share that thought with me and that philosophy. So I want to dive into that today. But before we do that, I want to remind you, if you're appreciating the show, please subscribe, give us a rating, a review. It helps us reach this message to more people. And I think at any moment in history, more people need to know this message. More people need to know that there is a path to fulfillment. There's a path to joy. There's a path to unlimited abundance, to seeing and experiencing the world and traveling and learning and growing. There's so much more out there for you. And this is the path. We believe this. We believe in real estate. We believe in personal growth. And so with that said, I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'm going to introduce you to Princi Gill and Vikram Brar. And so let me start with Princi here, who's a co-founder of Waahe Capital, and her core strength is in financial operations. Prior to founding Waahe Capital, Princi spent 14 years in the Silicon Valley designing and implementing one of the largest and most complex financial management systems ever created, called SAP. Am I saying, or is it called SAP? SAP.
It is SAP.
It's SAP. You got it right.
Oh my gosh. See, that was lucky. there. So at Waahe Capital, Princi focuses on true value creation through modern design, strategic sourcing, and cost-effective renovations. She is also disrupting the traditional leasing and property management model through technology. Princi maintains an unwavering commitment to the company's vision of enriching people's lives. She holds a master's degree in finance and currently lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with Vikram and their 2 beautiful children. I'm making an assumption there. If you're watching on YouTube, I think you would probably agree that they've got to be beautiful children. So Vikram, let me introduce you to Vikram Brar, who also co-founded Waahe Capital with Princi. And prior to establishing Waahe Capital, Vikram held executive positions and managed the fiscal operations of startups in the Silicon Valley. At Waahe Capital, Vikram leads the acquisitions, investor relationships, and operations. Vikram is utilizing the Lean Six Sigma methodologies that disrupted the automotive assembly line to build scalable processes and achieve operational excellence in multifamily. Vikram holds a master's degree in industrial engineering from Wayne State University. So with all of that said, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourselves behind the bio, please.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. And you've pretty much covered it all. So yeah, if we go back, I was born in India. I was raised in a business class in India. And from there, I went to London to do my master's and then came to US. And yeah, all my years in the Valley, I did projects, I did business transformations, and there was always this burning desire, this burning passion to do more than whatever was going out there. And yeah, real estate was something that always spoke to me. And yet last year, I finally made that leapfrog and made that transition full time into dedicating all our time to Waahe Capital.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so similar to Princi, I was born in India. My father was in the army, so we grew up around a very disciplined life, grew up around very, highly motivated people. And so the thing was, if you fall, you just dust off your things and you carry on, that was it. So it's now looking back, I think I realized that all this process is something that intrigued me. Whatever I did even when I was a kid, whether it was as simple as laying the table, the plates, whatever, the dinner table, I had a process around it. And so that continued on. That brought me to industrial engineering. So I did my undergrad in India. I came to US to do the master's because I found automotive was all about processes. Henry Ford had disrupted the entire thing. So I was like, how can I get there? So the dream came true. I did my master's in industrial engineering and I went and worked in the automotive sector. And it was truly, it was very gratifying because it was to be able to go work at a place where you had your childhood hero kind of work towards. So it was great from that perspective. And, and then side story, Princi and I were dating since my final year of undergrad in India. And it was a bit of a hike for us, to travel back and forth. When she was in London, I was here. But thankfully we persevered. We survived through those long distance relationships and we got married. And so she moved. For her, it was a big change. She moved from London to Detroit, and it was great, but it was not quite London. Let's just say that. And she always, growing up, she always had this vision and desire of working in the Silicon Valley. And she was even doing certain projects, some virtual assistant before it became a big thing. She was helping some people out in Silicon Valley with some of the stuff when she was an undergrad. So as soon as she got an opportunity in New York and she got an opportunity in Silicon Valley. So no surprises, she picked Silicon Valley. And that's what brought me to the Valley, through I transitioned over to supply chain strategy with the management consulting. And then from there, I transitioned into medical devices manufacturing because that's my passion. That's really what spoke to me. So yeah, that's a little bit from there. We had some life-altering event. I had some autoimmune disorder. And so when I came to US, I got ulcerative colitis and I lived with it for 10 years. But towards the end, when all the medications, off-label medications stopped working, so I had to go into a surgery. And that it was back in 2013 and got into some complications and I almost quite didn't make it. And Princi was pregnant with our first kid. So for us, it was like, what do you do? Like for me, I was like, if this is it, then what am I leaving behind? And I realized it was, W-2 is great. I had a great job, great income. It's going to stop as soon as, my pulse stops. And so from there, we realized, okay, we're going to survive. His mind is extremely powerful. So as soon as you make that decision, things start happening. And we recovered. We said the only thing we knew was real estate. We didn't know any underwriting. We didn't know what was a 2%, 1%, any of those rules. All we knew was if you buy something, it needs to give you more value after paying off all the expenses.
After paying the mortgage and everything.
It was 2013, yeah. And so you could really go wrong. Yeah. So, but we bought a couple of condos that got us interested in before we realized we got to buy like 20 properties a year or some crazy number to achieve the financial freedom. And then we spent a year, looking into multifamily, and we found multifamily after a year of research. Then you got to educate yourself. You got to do all that, which is extremely important. And then 2017 is when we, essentially got into multifamily, and Waahe Capital was born after that.
This episode of Elevate is brought to you by CF Capital, a real estate investment firm formed by myself and my partner, Brian Flaherty, where we invest in multifamily real estate communities across the Southeast United States. If you'd like to learn more about our approach, our mission, our acquisition criteria, and how you can learn more about future opportunities, visit cfcapllc.com. Again, that's cfcapllc.com. That's amazing. And there's so much there, really. There's so much there not only to be inspired by, but to glean a lot of wisdom from, and where to even dig in. What I would say, where I really want to go with this is really where Princi led off, was that burning desire. Because I think it all does start with a burning desire. And, I think we all have that. Sometimes we want to stoke those flames or, look away from that burning desire. But I want to talk more about that. And how did you discover your burning desire to do more? And then also I want to dig in further from that as to why real estate particularly spoke to you kind of early on. It seems like maybe maybe a little bit of a gleaning sort of shining star that was shined into your life. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that burning desire.
Yeah, sure. The way me and Vikram both have led our life is we work very, very hard and we figure things out. Once we figure things out, we work hard, we want to go and get to the next one, right? So the burning desire is really, it's all about doing more. Every day you want to learn more. You want to surround yourself with humans who have done better, right? So you can learn something. You can be a role model for your kids as well to a lot of extent. So even today, every day there is a burning desire. It should never fade away.
Yeah,
right.
Really. And why real estate? Me and Vikram, as you may know, we do analyze a lot. We look at numbers a lot. We do the pros and cons, and we can really have conversations where we can go deep into things. We did look at a lot of businesses. Our main thing was we wanted something that was stable, and everything that we used to analyze real estate was something that always every check mark, right? It checks every mark. We are not making any more of land. We do need a place to live. You can do so much more or so much less based on how much cash you want to put into a property. So it's like it gives you so much more flexibility just beyond just the external factors that kicks in. So yeah, that was one of the main reasons for multifamily in particular.
I think what you're trying to say is like there's so many streams of income that can come out of it. Real estate is a very broad word, right? It's like as broad as manufacturing. Like there's multiple different types of manufacturing. So real estate is a very broad word, and I think there is in it for anybody and everybody, right? Whatever your personality type is, whatever your passion level is, you can invest, and real estate gives you all of that. And in single-handedly, I think it's pretty instrumental, right? As Princi said, we always need a place to live. There's got to be a place to work. Probably with coronavirus, it might change a bit, but it might combine housing and living and working in some sectors. But yeah, it's something that spoke to us. And as far as getting it better, I think it's about how you can impact and how you can impact more lives. For us, it's always been, either whether it was with Princi through the software implementation, business processes, everything else. For us, for me in the later years was med devices. Like, how do I work on this med device, make it so good that it impacts X amount of people who are going to use it, whether it's in diagnosis, whether it's in whatever impact they would have out of that. So yeah, for real estate spoke because it is one medium that could take us out of the Silicon Valley. Once you start to get the compensation in the Silicon Valley, it's very difficult to replace that with just any business. Mm-hmm. And real estate, again, is one of those things that can provide you that. Like it's there's no top, there's no ceiling in a lot of extent based on what you do. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer from there, and then we just jumped right in.
I love it.
And our company motto, the tagline is enriching lives. So when we got into it, we were like, so what, at the bottom line, what do we really want to do? So we wanted to impact lives. We wanted to impact neighborhoods, lives of our residents, lives of our investors, life of us, life of our kids. So yeah, it was very consciously we have made that choice of what we do on a daily basis.
Oh, and I love just having a clear vision of what your outcome is. What are you doing beyond earning money, beyond earning and creating wealth? Because, I think many of us would agree that the, financial, ability that you have through real estate is unlimited. As you mentioned, Vikram, it is absolutely unlimited. There's no ceiling. And, but beyond that, it's not just about money. I think most people would agree that, at the end of the day, there's another reason why people seek financial freedom or additional streams of income or whatever that may be. So I wanted to go back, Vikram, as you mentioned, you were looking to, you had this medical event and really kind of a life-changing, life-altering event that really caused you to say, look and say, well, what's important to me? What's important in our lives? And it caused you to look at real estate and similarly to many people, I would imagine, you guys started, by acquiring condos and smaller properties. And then after some time started to realize that, wow, this is not necessarily as scalable as we'd like it to be. So talk to me about what was going on in your mind at that point and how did you shift to more of a scalable model?
Sure, no, absolutely. And before I dive into that, just to on the last conversation to sum it up, the financial aspect is definitely, multifamily gives you that stable stuff, but obviously that is not all, right? That is not it. But whenever you're making a transition or leap, it's always like you need to have that basis covered. That's foundation stuff that I know is going to be okay. I'm not going to be on the streets. My kids are not going to be on the streets. Yeah. And then you go into personal development and take it to a whole different level, where money becomes a byproduct of the value that you add rather than the main thing. So that's what, just wanted to clarify that. And then for me, as you mentioned, so 2013, 2002, early on when I came to US, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. So it is a disease which not only controls what you can do, it also controls where you can be. It's so much about a radius, whatever else. So not only did I live through it, but Princi kind of, even without having a direct disease, lived through it through me because we were always together. And but we didn't let it, we didn't let it control our lives. We traveled, we would plan in advance, and you had your oh shit times, and you're like, okay, we'll put a buffer through it. We have a down day here, so what? We'll take care of the next day. But yeah, so essentially, life was going on fine, but it consumed us, right? It consumed us to a point where we didn't think about our jobs or anything else. Forget about, personal growth, forget about, what am I here for? Answering that question, what are we here on earth for? It was kind of out of the mind. And then 2013, when I went for a surgery, it's one of the best hospitals by one of the best doctors, but nature has its ways, and it got into a complication where, things started going bad. What was supposed to be a 5-day exit, it turned out to be 20 some days in the hospital. And during that time, I had that moment of clarity, which many people do at times like this. And that moment of clarity was, there's a bigger purpose. We are here for something. So, and for me, it was, I'm going to survive, and I'm going to make sure that whatever we do after this point is very driven towards adding value in other people, enriching lives, and making sure my generations are settled in the sense from a wealth and perspective. I didn't want any of my generation to be in those shoes when you're kind of maybe on your deathbed or something like that, and then you realize you don't really have too much. Whoever you're going to leave behind is going to struggle not only emotionally but also financially.
Yes.
So for me, that moment of clarity hit. And I think my second surgery was in October. By December, we were in contract on a single condo with our simple maths. And then we bought another one in 2014. And then we just started doing the numbers, calculations, and we're like, oh boy, it's going to be a lot of deals in a year, in a month to be able to do it. And we as I mentioned, we realized multifamily was a lot more to multifamily, a lot more to real estate. And we kept looking. We didn't know about multifamily, never realized that somebody could, common people could buy apartment buildings or whatever. And we found multifamily, I think it was over Thanksgiving break. Princi and I love to travel. Whenever something's bugging us, we love to travel, even though if it's like 20 miles away from the house. And we love to talk. We have our strategy sessions is what we call them. So we had a strategy session. We kept digging and we found multifamily. And that was it. And then from there, we spent a year understanding it, studying it, because you really need to know this multifamily is a little bit of I would say it's a step up from going out buying a single house. So it's very important to educate yourself, get mentorship, really know that whatever you're going to do is not going to burn the thing down.
Right.
And we found Tucson, lucky enough, in a day's flight in and out of San Francisco Bay Area. It was a recovering market. All the signs, job growth was happening, population growth was happening. So the textbook stuff that's checked in, all the boxes checked. We came in and we found an off-market property through broker relationships. It was a beautiful value-add deal that almost killed us a second time, but yeah. But then we got into it, and since then it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about that. I can't let you go without telling me about the first deal there, the first multifamily deal, which can be a big challenge for most investors, but it's almost like that test, right? So let's talk about that. It almost killed you for the second time. You got to tell me more now.
So I'll start it off, and then Princi can help put in the other financial details. So for us, it was very. So we are very logical, right? We're very number based. So Princi and I sat down. We was like, okay, here's the amount of pool of money that we have. We didn't want to take money from our siblings or family, because the last thing we wanted is them to stop talking to us. So we're like, okay, we have this pool of money. How do we maximize it? And when we did the number calculation, we were like, emotionally, we knew we should probably go somewhere like 10, 20 unit. We felt safe. And the logical sense told us, buy as big as you can, because you have a higher probability of success. In the sense it can take a hit, right? Just like houses, like single family house, somebody moves out.
Yep.
It's 100% vacancy, right? A bigger unit, the less vacancy. So that was the logic that we used. We bought 45 units. It was 55% occupied. Economic was 45.
I would categorize that one as distress, maybe not value add, but go on.
It's a distress. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It was a distress. At that time, we thought it was value add. And so, right, because that's what it's supposed to be. So, and then we went in. It was, we calculated the monies. We realized we would need X amount of, dollars to burn through the first, whatever period until the occupancy went up. And we were doing everything right. We moved out the tenant base. It was really rough tenant base. So we dropped down to 20% occupancy, and then we started renovating the units. And during the renovation process, we ran into a little bit of hiccups because we had to get architectural designs done, because some design changed at the last minute. But the thing that we could have done better is not demo like 10 units at a time. And you could still rent them up. They don't have to be down units. And so we had to, what we didn't keep in mind was architectural delays, engineering delays, market being super hot delays, and city approval process. So it put us down by I think it was about 4 months. I think overall process was 4 months, and we were burning about, the cash burn was about $20K a month or something. And, those 4 months add up pretty quickly. Yeah. And we're like, and then, we were looking at our cash, and it was the end of the year in 2017. And we're like, how do we get into cash flow situation fastest?
Right.
Not an obvious answer, but we were like, we got to buy more properties.
Oh my gosh.
So we went and spoke to the seller. Like, we knew he had a portfolio, and then we spoke to him. We got into 100% seller finance deal for his 59 unit portfolio. It was an amazing cash flowing property, and we were going to close in February. And then the Jan was like, how do we make sure we have enough monies for here? That's where I meant is like almost killed me from a cash flow perspective. But Princi being Princi, she's a financial person. She pulled out the dollars needed to survive that month. And then the new cash flow started hitting from the next portfolio purchase. And I think we learned our lesson. Cash flow, you gotta buy for cash flow, to a lot extent, unless you have some bigger reserve amount left on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to add, my first deal was a distressed deal as well. And I thought it was a value add. And let me just tell you, it was not 45 units. It was actually 8 units. Okay. And, it was very challenging because things got much worse before they got better. And there's some things that you can't project. You can't project, the length of time that it may take to complete, a larger renovation project than maybe you are aware of. But it is important to, understand that the miscellaneous and the unexpected is possible, and not only possible, but probable to a certain degree, especially in a distressed deal. Would you agree to that?
For sure. And what really makes a difference is to have the right partner. So we really truly believe in having the right partners. Fortunately, me and Vikram are really good partners when it comes to business as well. So it really helps, because where Vikram would say, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, I have a different way of looking at that, and vice versa, right? So yeah, and those are really the opportunities. All you have to do is really work hard and not give up, and have that belief system in place that, you are going to get through this. And if you have seen enough of life, I think those are the sweetest memories that make you and us, right? So.
And I do want to mention, some of the things that kept us going. I think we consumed tons of books and self-improvement books during those 6-7 months this thing was going on. I think we were probably reading one book in a couple days at that time. And we would discuss it. And we have different viewpoints. The reason Princi says is we are great partners is because we have very different viewpoints. So operational, me being operational, manufacturing comes from a very different outlook. Princi's is very financial operations, larger view. She worked, most of her career, she worked for really large organizations, where my tail end was working for medium to small startups. And the last one was just I was a 16th employee. So it was a very different viewpoints that we bring to the table. But I would say is because of that deal, because of what we went through with that 45 units, we are never gonna. We had discussed, like, if we survive this deal, we're never going to fail in real estate, in multifamily real estate.
That's exactly what.
Because it's taught us so many different things.
Yes.
Waahe Capital was born out of it, a vertically integrated business that taught us how you can maximize this money. And then we went in and sourced directly. We bought a container of cabinets, flooring. We're like, how do I maximize this cash, limited cash that we have? So it taught us so many things. We did in-house, bring construction in-house. We brought property management in-house. We were able to control different things. And that 45 unit taught us what we are going to leverage our entire career in multifamily.
Yeah, it gave us 3 or 4 more different streams of income and businesses. And, yeah. Yeah. So we are always lucky for it.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that challenges can be the seeds of greater opportunities for your future, right? If you look at it that way, and it's as, Wayne Dyer said, and I may butcher this quote, but it's like when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And you could have either looked at that challenge of, woe is me, I'm losing 20K per month. How am I going to, withstand this? I need to get out of this business. Clearly I can't figure this out. Or you can say, all right, how are we going to figure this out? And how are we going to get resourceful? And how are we going to get innovative? One of the things that I love about you guys is that you're innovative. I mean, obviously you come from the Silicon Valley, where it's really the innovation capital of the world. And you have taken ideas and, invested in your mind and invested in your own resources to be innovative in what you're doing. A few of the things I wanted to talk about was, the Lean Six Sigma principles and how you're operating your multifamily portfolio. So let's start there. And I've got a few other things I want to touch on after that.
Sure. No, absolutely. So this is my passion. This is process engineering in some ways. So Lean Six Sigma. So when I got into automotive, the whole thing that automotive got into this optimization and operational excellence was because of these philosophies, these principles. And we're like, how can we apply those when we came to multifamily? Because we realized very fast that construction and the real estate, remodeling, everything else, had kind of fell into a silo. Manufacturing productivity since 1945 to now has increased by 8 times. Construction has actually remained same. Actually, it went down in the last decade. So when we looked at things. So 45, going back to the 45 units, and because that was the birthplace for everything, There were about 43 some odd different kitchen layouts. So we looked at it. Princi designed the kitchens herself. I think she did it 3 times. We were like, you go through the first one, second one. We're like, we can't be ordering these many different kitchens. There's got to be some way. So
I actually had him and our construction manager go back and remeasure I'm like, this is not possible that you can have a 2-inch difference here and there in every unit, or a 5-inch, because that really changes the size of the cabinet you can put in. And that's how we started to unfold all the inefficiencies there are in these buildings that we buy. And then we started talking to each other and said, how can we make them efficient? How can we make them smarter? How can we make sure that we don't need 45 different kitchen layouts? I mean, you need to make sure that you give a plan to your team that they don't fail. I cannot give them a complicated plan and then say, go figure it out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly, because the 45 different kitchens is not just a purchasing problem. It is a maintenance problem. It is an installation problem. It is a maintenance problem. It is a problem that you're going to continue to have for the life of the period, because that's a number of different components you would need to maintain it. Right, so different size doors, different size whatever number of handles, X amount of period. So we look at it from that perspective. Princi ended up designing, I think, 3 or 4 different kitchens. And so we optimized the design, and then we went ahead and we said, okay, standardized flooring. So we're like, we're just going to buy one type of flooring. We picked the color gray. It looks pretty modern and everything else. And so if you look at our apartments, they come in any color as long as it's gray, borrowing a quote from Model T. And so we standardize everything, and the efficiencies from a design perspective, it looks very finished, clean, modern lines, clean lines. And from an operational perspective, that's what Lean Six Sigma is about. It's about reducing variation and making sure you're getting towards operational excellence. And by reducing the number of different layouts, by reducing the number of different colors in flooring, different, all our LEDs, we just go in and install LED lights. So exactly in the center of the room. And so our guys now know exactly, we don't even have to give them a design. They know exactly where it goes. It gets installed, what product is going to be used. We bought a warehouse this year to stock all the material. And thank God we are on standard designs, because if we had to stock those, it'll be inefficient to stock it. And so that's where I'm leveraging my Lean Six Sigma process, and we're bringing into construction the remodeling rigor, the processes, the teams, poka-yoke methods. How do you not make the same mistake over and over again? What do you learn? We have meetings which we get feedback, and we're trying to buy new tools. And I've even told the team, if we have to come up with a tool that's just causing you a problem, we have to design a tool. We'll design a tool. Please tell us the problem that is stopping you from moving faster or doing it better, and then we'll figure it out. So yeah, that's a little bit of my manufacturing operations background, Lean Six Sigma stuff that I'm bringing in.
Are you someone who's seriously looking to elevate your life, your business, your real estate portfolio, your cash flow, your deal opportunities, your access to opportunities, your network this year? Well, if that's you, then I invite you to visit coachwithtyler.com, because I'm currently opening up a few coaching spots for people like you who want to close the gap from where you are to where you want to be, and really, expand that beyond your wildest dreams and explode your business, explode your deal opportunities, explode your vision for what you're looking to create. If that's you, I invite you to visit coachwithtyler.com. I really have to tell you that this is not for everyone. This is only for those who are decisive. They're committed. They're willing to do whatever it takes. They're willing to invest time, energy, and resources into themselves to get to where they want to be and to live a life without limits, to elevate to a life without limits, which is really what we're all about on this show. If that is you, again, I invite you to visit coachwithtyler.com. Again, that's coachwithtyler.com. That's great. I appreciate you sharing that. And I also think there's just so much value in understanding, creating those operational efficiencies and, standardization within your real estate practice, whether it's, if you're just doing a construction project or whatever you're doing in your business, there's so many things that you can standardize, and there's so many things that you can reduce to a process, because that's where, in my opinion, at that point, then you can, layer over innovation and new creativity. And that's where it creates the opportunity. Like, one of my favorite quotes, and some people like this quote and some don't, but, it's about discipline equals, freedom, right? Discipline equals freedom. And really how I see this and how you guys have applied, sort of standardization along with creativity, along with innovation and taking ideas from, a different marketplace and applying it to real estate is really kind of in the brand essence that you have in terms of Waahe Capital. So we were talking about this a little bit before the show. So tell me about that, because I do think it's extremely important to, share your vision and to share, where you are as an organization and what you're doing to impact others. So talk to me a little bit about what Waahe Capital means.
Sure. So, for Waahe, it's a Punjabi word. It means a power that takes you from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light. So for us, we're very things. It connects to us at an emotional level, and so it is something that really spoke to us. And then that's where, and it's our guiding principle. So every time we say the company's name, it reminds us of whatever we are doing has to be based on that level, right? So it keeps us in check, and it also provides a lot of motivation. And overall, at Waahe Capital, we believe in impact investing. So our tagline is enriching lives, and we see ourselves as impact investors. And what we mean by that is we want to do what is right for the tenants. We want to do what is right for the investors. We want to do right what is for our employees, and we want to do right what is for the neighborhood and the greater good. And I think Princi came up with this, the idea to install. So Princi is our design house, right? She's this design person, visionary. She'll come up with this. I
question a lot.
and then so we saw when we bought the 45 units, one of the units was renovated, and it had chemical, the spray-on countertops. So it had that, and our older kid was in the apartment for probably about 15-20 minutes. And in that 15-20 minutes, he has environmental allergies, and all of a sudden he started getting wheezy, and then he couldn't start breathe, and we had to give him, right off we had to give him a shot, and he was okay. But what it opened our eyes up to was the amount of chemicals that go into something what we can call a quick renovation or just a typical renovation that happens a lot in our business. So we're like, how do we take this? So our eyes got open to like a hard worker. They're working really hard in the morning time. They come home for a safe place, right? So if that safe place cannot really be a safe place, then we didn't feel comfortable doing that. We didn't feel comfortable putting that in. And Princi's directive was, we're going to put quartz. so we're like, okay, good. Now, how is it just great for the tenants? So we went low VOC. We went low VOC paint. Our flooring is formaldehyde free. Our cabinets are CARB 2 compliant. That's the most stringent compliance for emissions. And then our countertops are quartz. So essentially there's zero emissions coming from that perspective. And so everything that we use is an eco-friendly material. And now you'll say, okay, you did this great stuff for the tenant. How are you going to make it great for the investors? And that's where our sourcing model was born. And funny enough, Princi's been using it. I've been using it. All our corporate career for 20 years, we were sourcing from Europe in manufacturing environment. We were sourcing from Far East. We were sourcing from India. Princi had companies all over the globe that she was working on projects for, and they would do it for financial reasons, for tax reasons, So we were like, we didn't even realize in the beginning what we were doing. Yeah. We could do that, in real estate, and we did. And that is why we were able to bring in really quality materials for a price that made sense for investment.
So we looked at we really analyzed and we compared the pricing of stuff that you get here versus the stuff if we source in bulk. And then when we compared the pricing and we came to that sweet spot that it makes sense. For example, even for your laminate countertops that we spray on, after a turn, 2 years, let's say 2 years is a maximum. Otherwise, after that, it chips. You have to again put in that $250 to $350, depending which market you're in. And for me, that didn't make sense. I'm like, we're not gonna put in, $250 or $350 and then come back the next year and do that. Why don't we do the right thing in the first place? And then that's how we started sourcing and make sure that our quartz countertop was not very expensive, but it came to that it made that sense. It made that sweet spot. And then we were like, yeah, let's do this. Other thing we did was crazy enough. Now we find we were able to really procure quartz countertop at a really good price. How do you get them installed? So, because installation cost is a lot. Then we went ahead and we trained our team in-house, and we said, no, we're going to do it ourselves. We made them aware why we are doing this. It's not just for environmental reasons. It's not just for financial reasons. This is the right thing to do. So let's figure it out. If somebody else can install it, so can we. So we
and to speak on that, and then that actually brings a good point up about the employee, right? Why is it, whatever we do, why is it good for the employees? So we believe really believe in training, right? We believe in making everybody better, their personal development. So we want to talk to people, not just because there's just some people working here or a number, right? We want to talk to them. So we want to really connect to them at that level where they feel comfortable sharing whatever their aspirations are. And we try to figure out how can we help them. So, and again, there's another leaf we took from our, manufacturing companies is we cross-train them. So it's not like, there are small teams, renovations, since we're using same materials, similar finishes. Now we start training these guys into different things. How do you install cabinets, flooring, everything else. So now they're also doing different things. They're also happy. It keeps them interested. And they work on their personal development. We give shout outs Fridays. We give shout outs for people who do efforts, right? When we started, it was mostly us giving the shout outs. Now we are seeing the team starting to give shout outs to each other. And it's really, we're forming a community. We're forming a good team where they feel safe to bring things up, and they know they will try to figure out what the thing is to help them out. So from that perspective, we have always seen things from that lens. And as I believe I mentioned before, generating income, making money is a byproduct of how much value we are adding into other people's lives. And we stand by it. We believe that's the right way to do it. And when we were done with the 45 units, the community came from around the apartment, single family homes. They came out and they thanked us for what we had done. And that was, I believe, the more gratifying than the refi that we did on that property,
which, by the way, was sweet.
Yeah, which was really, really sweet, We bought it at 38, refinanced at 106. So you can't, wow. It was a good reward for almost killing us the second time. I think it was worth it. Yeah. But the gratification that comes from making a community better is far higher.
Yeah. And really it goes back to, creating a culture of excellence and creating a culture of giving and impacting others. And your leadership is exemplary towards that. And I couldn't agree more to the statement that you made about money is the byproduct of the impact you have on others. And as you mentioned, being impact investors, what a better way to approach your business than to impact others and to, be thoughtful in what you're doing. So I just think there's a lot of gold nuggets of wisdom there that the listener can really gain and apply to their own business. And you mentioned a few times there and how you encourage your employees and your associates to, grow personally and, grow as an individual. And that's one of the key components of Elevate is about, investing in your own personal growth. So I'd be curious, as the leaders of this beautiful, growing, healthy organization, how are you both investing in your own personal growth as well?
For sure.
Sure. We read a lot. We follow, we listen to a lot of podcasts. We discuss a lot with each other. First thing we do is we get up early in the morning. We get up at 4 a.m. We talk to each other. What's up for the day? What are the 2 or 3 big wins we are going to get today? What is the most important thing to take care of? Because when you're doing operations, when you're running properties, construction, property management, everything, the day can take you, right?
Yeah,
it can go by really fast.
Yeah. So really, it's all about waking up early in the morning and planning, right? You got to plan your day, and you got to say, this is the first thing I'm gonna do. It's gonna have the most value today to our business, to our employees, whatever is the priority for that month, that week. So yeah, waking up in the morning, reading, listening to podcasts. I like to run a lot on the treadmill. So when I give back to my body, I feel the best that I can give back to the others. So
yes.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think to bounce off Princi's response, so as far as personal growth elevation, we're always looking to read a lot of books. Now as the business is growing, definitely is becoming challenging to be at the same rate that we were when we were starting out. Mm-hmm. But we do tend to do snippets. We do tend to listen to podcasts like yours, and then we will discuss something. Like Princi and I would listen to in separate cars, whatever else, and then we'll discuss it. So that's our morning strategy sessions, right? And I think the biggest thing for us is waking up in the morning is it's pretty quiet. 2 young kids, 5 and 7. So, right, and the other one's going to be 7 very soon. So he listens to the podcast, so I have to mention that, because otherwise he'll tell me I was wrong. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we found these, good 3 to 4 chunk of hours in the morning where it's very quiet and Princi and I can get a lot done. And then, as you mentioned, it's working out. For me, it's a little bit about meditation as well. So that all really helps.
Yeah, and we used to do that before, which is first thing in the morning checking our emails. We don't do that anymore. Thank God for that. And that really, really helps, because that's how you can really plan your day ahead better.
I could not agree more on that one. It's about giving yourself some space to pour up and fill up your own cup, so then you can fill up others' cups, and then you can really fulfill that mission of impacting others and creating good in the world, and being innovative and being creative and creating amazing processes and so on and so forth. And I know you guys have done so much, and wow, I could honestly have conversation for hours and hours on end, but with that said, I will transition us into our rapid fire section. We call it the Rare Air Questionnaire. And obviously you guys are doing rare things. I mean, you're creating abundance, you're creating opportunities for many people, and not only just your investors, but also the people who live in your communities, the people who work on your community. So I honor you for that. But as we continue to take it to another level, as we continue to raise the bar, you mentioned that you invest in your own learning, your own reading on a consistent basis. And that's something that I'm very fond of. As you can see, the books behind me, books are one of my greatest loves. So I always would like to know, if you had to point to 2 or 3 of the most impactful books that you've read, call it maybe even recently, or you can even say of all time. I'd love to know what those are.
Yeah, for me, the biggest impact really was The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read it over and over again. I was like, there is another way to live your life, really?
Right.
And many, many more, but that always comes up. I always also really enjoyed reading the 10X. Just because when we were really down with the 45 units, it really helped us say that all you got to do is really work hard, and then you are going to succeed there. You are going to achieve what you want to.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think for me, Think and Grow Rich was the most was and is the most impactful book. We still put it on a yearly read cycle. We're looking at it, gaining something different.
Yeah, Vikram, when he read it for the first time, remember, he was like, just drop everything. You got to read this book.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I remember it being in my dad's library as I was growing up. It's I saw it, but we picked up when we pick up when we pick up. But I distinctly remember that book in my dad's library as we were growing up. So anyways, that book still speaks to us. We're learning from it even now. And then, as Princi mentioned, when we were down at the very bottom with whatever we were going through in the multifamily space in the 45, 10X really helped us, right? What is this talking about at the end of the day is it's really telling us to just double down, just do more effort. More effort is going to yield more results. Simplified version. And so I think that was really good. Tony Robbins' podcast, listening to videos have always been amazing. So Hal Elrod, Miracle Morning, that's where we got to 4 a.m. waking up. And so, those are the books that have impacted us a lot. There are tons more. I'm probably not doing justice.
Week, and I still go over the 4 hours week book, and I'm like, how can you do this?
I know. Yeah. Same here. I feel the same way about that book. Sometimes that one screwed my life up for a while because I was like, I don't understand how I can set my life up in that capacity. But it requires you to change your mind, to change your thinking and think differently. Like the reason why I love 10X, myself is because if you think bigger, then you start to create innovative thoughts, right? You create innovative processes. You create an innovative strategy. Okay, well, how could I do 10 times more? How could I add a 0 to my thinking or, get out of this challenge? It's so interesting because you looked at the challenge of the 45 unit deal that was strangling you financially and said, all right, we need to go 10 times bigger. And the fact that you went 10 times bigger, it allows you to climb out of that and create new opportunities. So I just think it's exciting. I think it's amazing the amount of material that we can all, plant into the seeds of our own mind to create a new future. There's always something new.
Right.
And also, just to add to that, for me personally, surprisingly, is the amount of lessons learned and the amount of encouragement and support that we get from our mentor as well. Mm-hmm. So from Trevor, it's amazing. I couldn't even believe stuff that he tells us, and then we implement. We are like, whoa, we didn't look at it from this angle.
Yeah, it's the book of Coach T. We do business coaching with Trevor McGregor, and I think that has completely changed our path and everything else. It's also, I think we should, it's a huge elevation that we do for ourselves, right? To elevate ourselves is to go through the business coaching, mentoring, and it's you can't put a value to it, to be very honest. And then there's certain snippets that Coach T would say that that we would get out of an entire book, and he would just say it in like 30 seconds, and you're like, wow. Never saw it from that perspective.
Yeah, and we made a very conscious effort to go into mentoring and coaching, get a coach this year, because we were at that point where now we were in that wheel, right? The business was running. We had multiple streams of income, businesses where you could just do that or get a mentor, and so that they can take you to the next level.
Yes.
Rocket ship out of the wheel. Yeah.
Absolutely. Or turn decades into days. And, there's always another level. I mean, that's what our coach would say. That's what I say to my clients. And, there is always another level, and we know that. And that's the exciting thing about life and about what we do in this business, is that we can always go to that next level if we allow ourselves to go there. And it is interesting, how much is really created in our minds. And, our psychology is so, so important. So investing in your own psychology and surrounding yourself with great people, surrounding yourself with great knowledge, great wisdom, folks like yourself. So I honor you for that. Talk to me. I'd love to know, beyond what we've talked about today, what would you say is the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis?
Good.
Beyond what we have talked. And so I think every time, so this is something that we do every time we run into a hardship, anytime we run into a thing that didn't go the way we thought it would plan. So what Princi and I do, and it could be very little, as a very simple, one process in property management, or it could be as big as a business case, a business opportunity that didn't come to fruition. So what Princi and I do is we sit back. Just last night, we had an issue this afternoon. There were some issues with transitioning between our construction team, how we finished the units and taking over from the property management side. So we're like, there was some friction that we were feeling that existed over there. And I was like, how do you reduce that and elevate it up, right? The whole conversation. Mm-hmm. It's like, we shouldn't be, you got to bring it up. How do we impact more? Forget about what's missing. Like, how do we take the conversation of not only getting better, but even doing even above and beyond to the next level, as you had mentioned. So so I think for us, I think the biggest thing that we do outside of it is like sit down and talk, and really trying to peel the layers of the onion and get down to the bottom of it. And the other thing we really do for our brains is travel. We love traveling. I think it resets you. It resets the entire mindset. And we completely believe that mindset is a key to every success. And so it's very, very important to have those breaks and get those, refuel your brain and everything else. And I think we said it's mindset, strategy, and execution.
Yes.
I think for us, those are the three short ways of getting to success.
That's amazing. No, I really appreciate that. And I agree. I think 80% of your success in anything comes down to your psychology. 20% is the mechanics. Of course, it's very important. You can't just have one or the other, but it is very important to be aware of what resets you, what gives you, more energy and allows you to create a better system or a better strategy. So I could not agree more with that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to know, beyond, what we've talked about. Again, I'm going to push you again a little bit further. What is the biggest way that you elevate others around you? Because you've mentioned to me how you impact investors, you impact, people and individuals. How do you elevate others best around you?
Sure. So we believe in mentoring a lot. when it comes to our employees. Right now, that's our focus area. So we listen to them, we talk to them, we understand what their emotional needs are and how we can fulfill those and their financial needs and everything, and how we can figure things out. When someone is frustrated, someone is angry or disappointed, there's always a reason behind it. We try to understand that reason. We feel we humans need more of each other, especially what's happening these days. Yeah. We gotta just listen, right? It's very important to listen to the other person rather than just going on with your own horse.
Yeah.
I think it's all about elevating everybody, talking about what they've done right, rather than focusing on what went wrong in that moment. You do talk about it, but you talk about it as after you've discussed what all they've done right? What all as everybody's doing right. And then you mentioned that thing in the end, like, this is something that could be done a different way.
Yep.
And how you present it matters. And we make sure, whether it's within our teams, whether it is sometimes, we'll jump on calls with friends and families who are getting into the real estate world or something similar. And they would say, what's the key? They would run a question by us. And we're like, yeah, let's just try to, don't beat yourself up. Focus on this. This is excellent. Now you could probably do this delta better by doing something else, X, Y, and Z. So
right.
It's all about focusing on what's going on right at that moment.
Truly listening to understand and offering wisdom and resources and connections towards getting to that end. It's so amazing how that makes you feel as an individual, and then also the opportunities that it not only creates for that person, but for yourself as well. So could not have said it better. And wow, this has been a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate you all taking time. Is there any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd leave with Elevate Nation today?
Sure. No, thank you so much for having us. You and your team are doing great. So yeah, this was a fun podcast.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. I'm sorry, we probably rambled on a couple topics here and there, but it was great. I think what you're building is truly phenomenal. Making sure, like you said, elevating everybody else, focusing on the impact. If we all work together and focus on impacting and having a better, leaving the world a better place than we found it in multiple different ways, I think at the end, that would be really the most impactful thing that we would all be able to do. And I'm sure we'll be all rewarded in different ways for doing that.
Well said. Well said. Well, it has been a privilege to sit down with you guys today. Tell the listeners how they can learn more about Waahe Capital, learn more about you both individually, and follow you along your journey.
Sure. We both are available on social media. So Princi Gill on Facebook, Princi Gill on LinkedIn. They can email princi@waahecapital.com. That's WAHECAPITAL.com. And Vikram.
And then Vikram Brar on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And then if you email us, Vikram at Waahe Capital, or you can reach us directly to the website. And we would love to, connect with you and see how we can work together, have an impact, and, make solid returns. Yeah, and have fun. Yeah.
Most importantly, have some fun. I love that.
Have some fun, absolutely.
Well, I encourage you to reach out to Vikram and Princi here, because obviously they're accessible, they're beautiful human beings, and they're impacting so many people, and you have the opportunity of reaching out to them. So we will put links in the show notes of how you can do that. Of course, you just listened to all the different links there. So there's so many ways to contact them. So I would highly encourage you to reach out, but I would also encourage you to re-listen to the show, because there's a ton of wisdom that you may have missed the first time. And we know that repetition is the mother of all skill. So what can you do to anchor in your own understanding, not only through listening, but also taking notes and distilling perhaps, what are your top 3 takeaways? I always say this, but what can you do to take action on those top 3 takeaways? And then also, as Vikram and Princi mentioned, they have discussions about podcasts. I would encourage you to discuss this with someone else, maybe even teach this to someone else, because really, I don't know about you guys, but that's how I learn. That's how I learn, is when I step into the teacher role. It's interesting because when I step into the teacher role, that's when I learn the most. And so I encourage the listeners in Elevate Nation to do that themselves. And, at the end of the day, it's all about taking massive action. So if you have a challenge right now, what can you do to go bigger, to elevate beyond your challenges? What can you do to elevate to a life without limits, so that you can capture more opportunities, so you can create more impact, so you can create more income? And so with all that said, I just want to thank you so much again for being on the show today. And it's been an absolute privilege again.
Same here. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Elevate Nation, we will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit elevatepod.com.